And I haven't covered this game in a long time. I always felt it needed its own video review because there's a lot to say about it and a really complex battle system to explain. Exist Archive, The Other Side of the Sky on PS4 and PS Vita. I don't like this cover, it's pretty bad. This is the full drawing. This should have been the cover, don't you think? Much more interesting, huh? Yeah. Let's begin. I never got over the name. Exist Archive? I beat the game a long time ago and I did some research for this review and I still don't get it. I guess it's about an archive that keeps existential records or something? Well, in reality the game does take on existentialism and sci-fi, so there's that. It's also subtitled as The Other Side of the Sky because of the plot I'm about to explain, and I think The Other Side of the Sky was a better name for the game. So, you play as a bunch of high school students that die in a horrible accident and mysteriously appear in another planet, which means somewhere in space, the other side of the sky. The protagonist Kanata then meets two bizarre characters. A lovely young airhead girl that doesn't remember anything, whom he befriends to try and learn more about the place he's in. The other character is some kind of futuristic gauntlet that gives him powers to fight monsters in the planet called Protolexia. So you'll have to find all the other students and even some strangers that also allegedly died. So this was developed as a collaboration between Spike Chunsoft and Tri-Ace. Had it been up to just Tri-Ace, perhaps the story will be a tad different. The game has some mechanics quite similar to the ones in their Valkyrie Profile series, especially the first two games. So why make it about a bunch of high schoolers in some bizarre planet instead of, well, Valkyries? Because Square Enix holds the rights to that name and Tri-Ace can't do shit about it. So Spike Chunsoft, being a fan of the series, proposed the idea to Tri-Ace and the collaboration happened. No, this is not a spiritual successor to Valkyrie Profile by any means, just a video game with similar mechanics. I see it more as a love letter, but only in terms of gameplay. Now, don't take me wrong, the plot's good and so is the narrative, but the character development, while still dark and psychological, also comes with dumb humor and silly dialogue. The game has 3 different endings, which depend on some of your actions and choices, some obviously leading to a different route. If you're aiming for a specific ending, I suggest you use a guide. Just keep in mind some are harder to achieve than others. Maybe it'd be a good idea to start a New Game Plus for those. The entirety of the exploration here is in 2D. You will control any character you want, walking, running and jumping while traversing on several different areas and dungeons. Platforming is featured and it does provide some challenges to reach in certain areas or treasure chests. It isn't like a Metroidvania, but I wanted to use that term so you can understand that sometimes you'll have to backtrack a lot or explore from left to right or up and down to find the boss, the exit, or the solution to a puzzle. Nevertheless, stages are rarely long. Random encounters exist, but thankfully you can see the enemies and either crystallize them, jump over them, or attack them to start a battle. If you crystallize them, you'll be able to go literally inside the crystal and use it as a propulsor to jump to a platform. Of course, achieving this, as you can see, is often easier said than done. Oh, good there! Yeah, it's hard. In a lot of areas you'll find a variety of crystals. If you touch them, you'll read a memory in the form of a short conversation between some of the characters and people from their past. This is also part of the character development to give more context to their psychological struggles. The combat in this game is turn-based with a player and enemy phase. Like in Valkyrie Profile, every character is controlled by one action button of your controller. You can only have 4 party members during battle. Also, like in Valkyrie, there are action points for everything, attacking, guarding. This is how it works. During your phase, you'll have a certain amount of action points in a bar for everybody. But also, to make things even more interesting, every character has a limited number of actions. Now, every type of action costs points, but characters can only equip just a few, which they'll learn as they level up. You can arrange the order in which they'll execute them in the menu, and therefore decide which ones are more suitable to your fighting style. Some cost more points than others, as you can see here, including spells. So back to battle, you begin by pushing from 1 to 4 action buttons, once or twice so everybody can attack. Or you can just use most action points with 1 or 2 characters if you want to. Enemies will be positioned separately, but you can select which one to attack or which ones, because if they're close to each other, you can actually attack the one in the middle, and some attacks will damage the others nearby. Keep in mind some enemies will have guards that you'll need to break with regular attacks or sometimes with a specific attack like a magic spell. Yeah, you can have some magic users that will preferably stay on the back to cast 1 or 2 spells per turn. Also, there's a drop rate bar that increases as you do damage. Every enemy has one, especially the ones with breakable parts. By breaking them, you'll increase it and get better rewards at the end of battle. During the attack phase, you can also bring up the menu to use a magic spell like healing or buffing, as well as an item to revive someone or to heal. But this also utilizes a character's own action points. You can also use it to end your phase if you would rather keep the remaining action points and save them, or the character's points. At some point of the game, you'll unlock a special gauge called Demon Greed that needs to be filled up by, you guessed it, attacking and receiving damage. The more you do, the faster it'll fill up 1 point, and then 2, and so on. When triggered, characters can execute a special attack that does massive damage. The more points you have, the more damage you'll cause, but also more characters can use their special skills in a row. Everybody's got their own unique animation, but it can be skipped if you want to. So now, the enemy's phase, known as the guard phase. In their turn, one or more will attack you, and you can use action points in the long bar to guard in order to reduce damage. But yeah, by doing this, you'll sacrifice points you might want to use for the player phase to attack. But you'll recover some at the beginning of the next attack phase, so don't worry too much about it. And the guarding is kinda timed, by the way. Often you need to click before an enemy attacks, while figuring out at the same time who will get attacked. I found this to be completely unnecessary, done probably just to increase the challenge for no justifiable reason. In fact, the game's a grind fest. It's quite hard and there are no difficulty settings at all. The first half will be somewhat easy or manageable, while the second one will force you to grind. You can get good all you want, but the level difference will always matter, so grinding is unavoidable. While there is no skill tree system here, characters will earn skill points after battle, which you'll be able to use for them to learn anything from passive to combat skills, and you can upgrade them with the same points instead of learning something new if you want to. Only a bunch of passive skills can be equipped though. Also, no shops exist in the game with the exception of Amaterasu here. You will give her crystals you get in the dungeons or by defeating the bosses to progress with the story. But also you can exchange useless items or items in excessive quantity for points, including equipment by the way, points that you can use to create new items or equipment instead. It's a very interesting yet simple trading system well implemented in the game. Also, you'll be surprised to know that there's a job system. It's called class system, but it works exactly like a job system, where characters can literally change to another job if they have enough points. Since I'm not a fan of job systems, I kept everyone with their native job, well okay, class, and focused on improving it. But yeah, those of you into job systems will definitely crave for this, I'm sure. The graphics in Exist Archive, as you've been seeing, are beautiful, quite detailed for the backgrounds and places you explore, as well as some neat 3D models for the characters and the enemies. The 2D art style though is something I wasn't a big fan of, but it wasn't bad whatsoever. Regardless, the in-game graphics look exactly the same on the PS Vita and the PS4. There is absolutely no difference whatsoever in terms of anything between both versions, other than the PS4 obviously having better resolution and frame rate. Soundtrack was handled by Motoi Sakuraba, like in most Tri-Ace games, and as usual, most of these themes are either forgettable or just okay, while maintaining a few that are awesome and quite memorable. I'm sure you'll remember the battle theme thanks to all the grinding you'll do. So, Exist Archive is a great JRPG, a bit underrated or underappreciated, especially by people who wanted desperately a new Valkyrie profile and instead they got this. I think if you just forget about that series and play this title with an open mind, despite its gameplay similarities, you'll probably get a pleasant surprise. Only if you like grindfests, complex and challenging games, mind you. Whatever the case, it is recommended. I mean, there's a reason why I used to cover this game a lot before in several top 10s. Hey look! It's Nemesis from Resident Evil 3! In this very small size.